Hi everybody, my name is Bo Sanders. Thank you for watching this video. I did an interesting experiment last year when I condensed my 3 different libraries all here into my office. I used to have some books at home, some books were in storage from the move, and then some books were here but I hadn't unpacked them. So when I brought them all together, I made an interesting decision, kind of an experiment, where I gave each theme or topic its own bookshelf. So like this one is world religions, and this one is Methodist and Wesleyan history, and this is sociology. And I only kept, it was like a game of pick and choose, I only kept the books that could fit on that space on the shelf. And so the books that I eliminated started to pile up in the corner, and I was going through them in order to donate them and get them a good home. And I noticed a couple that intrigued me, and they were usually about the future. They had been written before 2000, and so I just thought, like, I wonder what that's like. I had been reading books that were written before 2000 because they have a different tone, and I was just sort of exhausted by this culture of crisis and conflict that we live in. And so it was nice to take a little break from that. Deborah Tannen's The Argument Culture, one called New Pilgrims, was written by a New Zealand pastor about simplicity. And so that had a nice 3 interesting themes developed. And so I've picked 2 books to illustrate to you these 3 interesting themes, and just to throw it out there and hopefully get a conversation started. So the first was The Frog in the Kettle by George Barna. The subtitle is What Christians Need to Know About Life in the 21st Century. Things that developed that are fascinating to me is, number one, no one could have predicted the impact of the attacks of September 11th, 2001 on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. No one could have predicted what that would have set off in the war on terror and the ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and so many subsequent global developments. But I guess that's the danger of writing a book like that. But it's just fascinating to me that, obviously the whole controversy around Y2K, which I've talked about before, but that it was written, these books were written, and then so quickly afterwards, nearly everything changed at so many subsequent levels. That's fascinating to me. The second major theme that showed up was they didn't account for the internet and cell phones. There's a school of thought that says really 2007 was when that technology sort of rolled over the threshold of its major sort of exponential impact. But, when you're talking about ministry and just society in general, and you don't account for the impact that social media, cell phones, and yet almost nowhere to be found in the literature before 2000. You couldn't have predicted that. But there's a third theme that I want to bring up, and I'm finding this not just in books written before 2000, but in books that are currently being written. This one, however, is fascinating. It's called Reaching a New Generation, Strategies for Tomorrow's Church by Alan Roxburgh. And the impetus for writing this book was that a health food store, this is in the 90s, had moved into the neighborhood and was connecting with and reaching a segment of the community that the church was not reaching. And so this guy did a really good analysis of that. But the fascinating thing is that even when he's addressing a store that sells products, the C word never comes up. Capitalism and its offspring, consumerism. And so as I read, even today, books that are being written about ministry or critiques of church shoppers or so many other things that come up, and yet we never address capitalism. And the reason that's important to me is that that's how you know something is so assumed that it doesn't even get named. That's how you know it's an embedded ideology, an operating system, that it is functioning behind the scenes, and that it undergirds nearly everything about our existence and our society. You don't even talk about it. So those are 3 themes that I wanted to introduce, because going forward, there's some other books and some other concepts that I want to talk about, but I think that the effect of the global war on terror after 9/11, computers, social media, and the internet, and capitalism and its offspring, consumerism, are 3 themes that Without accounting for those three ingredients or variables in the formula, it is incomplete and will ultimately be unsatisfying. So I just wanted to introduce that because going forward, there are going to be several layers of that I will want to flesh out and talk to you about how it impacts the way we think about church, religion, culture, spirituality, so many other things. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.